Hello and welcome to the Bullish Money YouTube channel. Thank you for your viewership. I first want to start off by saying thank you to YouTube user Thomas Delwood. He has said very nice things about me, and I've been meaning to do a video where I return the favor. His YouTube channel is called Thomas Delwood Videos and Commentary, and you will find an enormous amount of what I can only refer to as intelligentsia. I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing that word correctly, but if you want high-level, intelligent discussion on politics, even controversial issues such as race relations, you got to go check out the Thomas Delwood Videos and Commentary. And I also wanted to do a shout out instead of a separate video, because if I just did a video about, hey, here's a guy named Thomas Delwood, I don't think it'll get a lot of viewership, and I don't think there will be a lot of value associated with that. But if I tag his video to a video that I think will be pretty popular, then that will add more value, and it's also a way for me to say thank you. So thank you very much. Today, I want to talk about firearms, surprise, surprise, but I really wanted to talk about firearm safety and certain things that you should practice before heading out to the range. And one of those things is that before you go to the range and you practice your newly purchased firearm, I highly recommend getting snap caps. Snap caps are, if you don't know, they're basically dummy rounds, dummy cartridges, and you could load them up in your magazine, for example, and fire away with these snap caps. They will not fire, of course, because they're dummy rounds, and you can practice the mechanism of how the firearm works. And it's very important that you develop muscle memory prior to going to the shooting range. Because when you're at the shooting range, even though people consider it practice, it's really not practice. You're actually really physically firing a firearm. And because you're doing something like that for real in real time, you don't have the opportunity to practice muscle memory there. You don't have the ability to account for many of the unpredictable dynamics that occur when shooting a firearm. A big example of this dynamic that I'm referring to is when you shoot a gun, and I'm referring obviously, of course, to semi-automatic weapons such as an auto-loading pistol. When you fire that pistol and the slide racks back and it ejects the spent casing, most of the time the casing flies away from you. But there are other times when it flies, it hits a wall or something, and it ricochets back into you. Those casings are super hot, and they immediately cause an involuntary reaction to get that casing away from your skin. It burns like crazy. And this happens, I would say, 20% of the time. So 10 to 20% of the time when you fire a semi-automatic weapon, you're going to get you're going to get some hot casings on you, okay? And if you're wearing a t-shirt or some kind of clothing where parts of your skin are exposed, you're going to feel the ramifications of hot casings on your skin. That's just an unavoidable part of the shooting experience. This doesn't have to result in a tragic accident so long as you practice the mechanisms of firing your firearm with snap caps. Use snap caps to develop muscle memory. And here's a perfect example of what I'm referring to. I was recently shooting at the firing range, and I was popping off my Springfield XD9, and in this one instant, I had the casing hit the wall, hit the side wall, and then hit back into my arm, into my my trigger arm, and so that caused an immediate reaction. I mean, I don't know exactly how hot a hot casing is, but it's pretty damn hot, enough to trigger that involuntary reaction. But you'll notice that when I did react, I had the firearm pointed downrange. I did not suddenly jerk my trigger hand all the way up or towards somebody else. That firearm was always pointed downrange. And it's very difficult to maintain that sense of calm and maintain that sense of discipline if you haven't practiced the mechanisms, if you have not developed muscle memory prior to going to the firing range. Those snap caps, I don't know how many times I cycled through snap caps. Must have been thousands of times actually that I've cycled through the snap caps, because using those snap caps, it's not just about safety, it's also about having confidence cycling through your firearms and having the confidence to know how your firearm works, and if something malfunctions, how to correct it. Snap caps teaches you those things organically by allowing you to develop muscle memory. And so when you are in a situation where you got burning hot casings on your skin and your body naturally goes into an involuntary response to get that source of heat and pain away from you, your trigger arm, your trigger hand is going to maintain discipline automatically because you've been practicing that discipline. And I encourage every shooter to practice that discipline before coming to the range. Of course, you don't have to do it by law. There's no legal mandate saying that you must practice with snap caps prior to coming to the range, but it could very well save your life, okay? And if it doesn't save your life, it could very well save somebody else's life. Somebody else, some other family member that has no idea that you are incompetent, and he's just out there, or she's just out there practicing their Second Amendment rights, and you come in and you start panicking because there's hot casings, and then you accidentally fire off a round. It hits the ceiling, and it hits some kind of compartment in the ceiling, and the bullet ricochets back, and it ends up hitting somebody else, an innocent party. You don't want that. In fact, if you have an accident, most rational people would say that the accident should, if there's anybody that's hurt in an accident, it should be you, the person causing the accident. There is a sense of guilt if your accident causes somebody else, some innocent party, to get hurt. And I've seen, and it's a very sad situation, but I've seen many stories of avoidable accidents such as this, when somebody has a hot casing on their skin and then they have not practiced muscle memory, they have not practiced trigger discipline, and so they panic, and then they fire off a round, because naturally when this stuff happens, your finger is going to be in the trigger well. Don't give me this crap that I'm going to have the foresight to take my finger off the trigger and engage the safety. No, when something like this, when something impactful like this happens in a dynamic, fluid situation, your trigger, your finger is going to be inside the trigger well. But through muscle memory, you can teach your body involuntarily not to pull the trigger when these unpredictable, unforeseen circumstances occur. And by having that discipline, again, you can save yourself a lot of trouble. You might be able to save an innocent party from a very unnecessary accident. So this is my tip of the week for you guys. Again, I encourage practicing the Second Amendment. You guys should know by now that I am for all of our constitutional rights, especially the First and Second Amendments. However, the fact that we have those freedoms does not mean that we are to ignore the responsibilities of practicing those rights in an appropriate manner. So I'm urging people to make sure that you practice the mechanisms of your firearms before you actually go live.